Okay, ready to dive into a classic today.
I'm game. What's on the docket?
We're tackling Daniel Goleman's Emotional Intelligence.
Ah, a good one. I get why it's still so popular, even after all these years.
Right. I'd heard the title, but digging in for our deep dive, I really see why it's had such staying power.
It's more than just another self-help book. Goleman really hit on something fundamental, something about how we exist in the world.
Totally. And he pulls you right in with that story of the bus driver.
In New York City, right?
Yeah. Sweltering summer day, everyone's crammed in, miserable. And then this bus driver gets on, just radiates these good vibes.
I remember that. Cracking jokes, pointing out little cool things. What a difference, huh?
And here's the thing. By the end of the ride, the whole mood has shifted.
Yeah.
Everyone's more upbeat,
Yeah. It really shows you the power of emotions, even in those little everyday moments.
Which is exactly what this book is all about.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about plastering on a fake smile and being, aggressively cheerful.
Yeah.
There's more to it.
Right. It's deeper than that. He's not saying ditch your IQ tests and become a comedian, but it does make you question.
Yeah, like how much are we missing by focusing solely on that one measure of intelligence?
Because there are all these other crucial aspects of life where emotional intelligence really makes a difference.
It's like, okay, I got straight A's, but why am I such a wreck when I have to talk to my boss?
Exactly. And that's what Goleman calls the 80% unaccounted for variance. All those factors beyond just being book smart that determine our success, our relationships, our overall well-being, really.
It's that feeling that there's got to be more to the puzzle.
Right. Like, why do some people just seem to navigate life's ups and downs with more, grace, while others are constantly getting blindsided?
And it's not always about being nice either, right? I mean, Goleman gives that example of the surgeon.
Oh, yeah, brilliant surgeon, top of their field, technically, but zero people skills.
The worst bedside manner imaginable. I mean, Can you imagine being their patient?
Yikes. Talk about a recipe for disaster. You could be at the top of your game in terms of knowledge and skill, but that lack of empathy, that inability to connect with people, it can really hinder your effectiveness in all areas of life.
For sure. And it plays out in so many ways. Like, think about someone gunning for a promotion.
They might have all the right qualifications on paper, but if they can't read a room, if they rub everyone the wrong way.
Exactly. They're not likely to climb very high. So it's not just about being smart. It's about being smart with people.
Which brings us to Goleman's big idea, those 5 key domains of emotional intelligence. And they are not just about being nice.
Right. These are skills with real consequences. So let's break them down. First up, self-awareness. And this isn't just about, knowing if you're happy or sad, right? It goes deeper than that.
Way deeper. It's about getting why you feel the way you do, Understanding what sets you off, how your emotions actually influence your actions.
Like Goleman with his test anxiety, right?
Exactly. He talks about completely freezing up during exams, even though he knew the material cold.
Just your brain betrays you.
It's a prime example of emotions hijacking rational thought. And that's what self-awareness is all about, recognizing those patterns so you can start to manage them.
Which brings us to the next domain, managing emotions. And this isn't about, becoming some emotionless robot, right?
No way. It's not about suppressing your feelings. It's about finding healthy ways to process them so they don't control you.
So you're not just like a leaf in the wind of your own emotions.
Exactly. Goleman tells this wild story about a lawyer, Elliot. He has brain surgery.
Okay, hold on. How's brain surgery tied to emotional intelligence?
So the surgery itself is fine, successful even, but afterward, Elliot's a completely different person. Loses his job, his marriage falls apart, makes terrible financial decisions.
Wait, seriously, what happened?
The surgery messed up a part of his brain, a part that's essential for emotional regulation. So even though his intellect was all there, he couldn't manage his emotions, and his life went totally off the rails.
Wow, it's like having a sports car but no brakes.
It really shows you just how essential this domain is.
Intense. Okay, so we've got self-awareness to figure out our emotions and managing emotions to, manage them. But what about actually doing stuff, the doing part of life?
That's motivation, right?
Right, and it's more than just, rah-rah, you got this. Goleman links motivation directly to emotional intelligence. It's about using your feelings to reach your goals.
So more than willpower, then?
Definitely. It's about delaying gratification, finding that flow state where you're totally in the zone and even bouncing back from setbacks.
Oh, the flow state, that's the best. When you're so absorbed in something, you lose all track of time. That's when I'm my most productive, for sure.
Exactly. And it's not just work either. It can be hobbies, anything that you get lost in.
Hmm.
That flow feeling is so motivating, essential for feeling fulfilled. I'm really starting to see how all these pieces fit together. It's like building something, block by block.
And just as important as understanding your own emotions is that ability to understand the people around you. And that's where empathy comes in.
Right. And Goleman takes it beyond just feeling sorry for someone. It's about really putting yourself in their shoes.
Exactly. Not just recognizing that someone is upset, but getting why they feel that way.
It's about seeing things from their perspective, responding with genuine compassion.
And that's how you build real connections.
It's the difference between a generic, let me know if you need anything,
Yeah.
and saying something actually helpful because you've taken the time to understand their situation.
Exactly. That deeper level of empathy, it can completely change our relationships in every part of our lives.
Okay, last domain handling relationships. When I first saw this one, I thought it might be about like smooth talking or manipulation tactics, but that's not it, right?
Not at all. It's about building healthy relationships that work. Think, clear communication, resolving conflicts in a positive way, inspiring others.
So less Machiavelli, more Mr. Rogers.
Exactly. It's about being someone who can navigate all the ups and downs of relationships with, I don't know, grace and skill,
Someone who can bring people together.
build strong teams, nurture those loving relationships, create a positive environment wherever they go.
It seems like these 5 domains, they all work together, right? It's not like you just master one and you're good.
Definitely, they're interconnected. Like pieces of a puzzle, you need all of them to get the full picture of emotional intelligence.
It's like learning a new language. Self-awareness is the vocabulary. Managing emotions is the grammar. Motivation is finding your voice. Empathy is understanding another person's dialect. And handling relationships is having a real conversation.
Love that analogy. And just like language, the more we practice these skills, the better we get at them.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about understanding these different elements of emotional intelligence and how they work together to make us more effective individuals, better partners, better leaders.
Absolutely.
But where does it all begin? Are we born with a certain level of emotional intelligence, or is it something we develop as we go through life? This is what I find so interesting. It's not just some abstract idea, right? Goleman gets into the biology of it, and it turns out our brains are wired for this stuff.
Totally. He talks about the limbic system, that ancient part of our brains that controls our emotions.
It's with the emotional control center,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it can really hijack even our best intentions.
For sure. Think about it. The limbic system is responsible for those primal instincts, fight, flight, freeze.
It's like when you know you shouldn't have that extra slice of cake,
Yeah.
but your brain's screaming, go for it.
Exactly. Or when you're about to give a presentation and suddenly you want to run for the hills. It's those old survival mechanisms kicking in, even when there's no real danger.
Which explains Goleman's whole test anxiety thing.
Yeah.
Logically, he knew he was prepared, but his limbic system had other plans.
Right. And what's even crazier is that our experiences, especially as kids, can actually shape our limbic system.
You mean like our childhoods are literally shaping how our brains respond to emotions?
It's wild, right? Goleman talks about these neural set points, basically a baseline for our emotional responses. Like early trauma can create a kind of hypervigilance, so someone might be more sensitive to threats, even in situations where other people are totally fine.
Like their internal alarm system is always on high alert.
Exactly. But here's the good news. Our brains are incredibly adaptable, and this is where emotional learning comes in.
So even if we didn't have the best emotional examples growing up, or if we went through some tough stuff, it's not a lost cause. There's still hope.
Absolutely. Goleman talks about these amazing programs that teach kids essential emotional skills, things like self-regulation, empathy, even conflict resolution, and the results are incredible.
It's like giving them the tools to build a strong foundation for life.
Exactly. And remember that heartbreaking story about Purdy? The school shooting that led to kids reenacting the trauma in their play.
Oh yeah, that was tough to read.
It really highlights why emotional literacy is so important, especially for young people. They need healthy ways to process those big emotions they experience.
It makes you wonder, what if we equipped every kid with this stuff, with even a basic understanding of emotional intelligence?
Right. Imagine the world we could create. And the thing is, it's not just for kids, right? These skills, this understanding of our emotions, it can benefit everyone.
It really makes you think about the ripple effects. Like Goleman gives that chilling example of the airline pilot, the one whose anger led to that awful crash.
Powerful example of what can happen when emotions take over. And it's not just in those extreme situations. Think about our everyday interactions, our workplaces, our relationships.
It's about recognizing that our emotions don't just affect us. They impact the people around us, too.
And when we can understand and manage those emotions effectively, it's like this whole new level of communication opens up.
We become better partners, better leaders, better humans.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
This deep dive has given me a lot to think about. It's really about more than just being nice, isn't it?
Right. It's about being aware, being intentional, being connected. And that's something we can all strive for, no matter where we are on our own emotional intelligence journey.
Absolutely. Well said. And to our listeners, we encourage you to explore this for yourselves. Take some time to reflect on your own experiences with emotional intelligence. What are your strengths? Where could you use a little growth? It's a lifelong process, this whole emotional intelligence thing, but it's a journey worth taking.
Totally agree. And who knows, you might surprise yourself with what you discover along the way.